go ahead, Jack, please introduce yourself and give us a little bit of background about your perspective. Thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you, Harry. And thanks to PMI and AIA Detroit for the opportunity. Appreciate it gets a chance to talk through this. Owners are notorious for taking credit for the work that constructors do. And I get to do that once again here. Dave did a nice job laying out the mechanics of the IPD deal, and I could just build off of that, talk about some of the more fun stuff that we're going through on this. Just a little bit of background. I'm with Michigan State University. Our capital program is, let's just say, $80 to $200 million, with some high variability with that. We use a wide range of delivery methods from design, bid, build, CM, design, build, a lot of design assist, and we've used some IPD over the years as well. So we try to use what fits the project and what the project needs are. So that's our background on this. So again, and Dave summarized, or gave some pretty good detail in 10 minutes on how IPD works. If nothing else, just understand the deal. There's a few things I just want to emphasize. Understand the deal. One wins, we all win. If a project goes over, there's no profit for anybody involved, and the owner eventually will start paying the overrun. If there's savings, it reverts to everybody. All of your partners have a place in that. A few years ago, we were negotiating one of these, and I had a boss who was struggling to see this, and I finally decided I came up with a somewhat coarse but effective explanation that if we're all drinking out of the same bucket, no one's going to spit in it. I mean, that really is kind of the heart to me of how this works. As Dave said, there still is a place for lump sum or design assist converted to lump sum. Not everybody in the project has to be a trade partner and has to be in every meeting, and that's part of the scale, the advantage that works in all of this for the scale as well. Excuse me, technology. So I would suggest, in my experience with IPD, that these are the traits to value, and there really is with apologies to Maslow, these are my hierarchy of needs. These are the things we really need to look at for it to work. And I probably had this inverted when I first started doing IPD, and I thought BIM and technology were the real magic to make it work. And I would say actually the first thing is attitude, and I could say more about that, but Dave's questions really frame that well. Think about it, those questions. Then are you willing, do you have a team that's committed to improvement? That whatever you do, you're willing to try and get better at it. You do not have a monopoly on good ideas or complacent. You can't be complacent. You have to be willing to say we can keep getting better. I think the lean tools are extremely important, really matter in making this work. But they have to follow the commitment to improvement and the desire to work together, and then they work well. If you use them first, in Jack Mumma's opinion, they can almost become an obstruction if you don't really understand why you're doing PPCs or commitment logs, and you can let the rules get in the way of the principles. And then finally, BIM and technology are very important to help with this, but they flow out of the other pieces. And I would suggest there are plenty of projects where you can do a lot of really good work without an advanced BIM approach. And that's, yes, you can do it. There's more to it though. It's a really interesting process. IPD, especially from an owner's perspective, and sometimes you don't know it's really working, and you have to ask yourself some questions. And here are just my reflections on what's made it work for us. The first thing is that the contract review and negotiation is your first team building exercise. I know of a healthcare system that has master agreements in place with their key constructors, the key trades, the key CMs and whatnot, and designers, so that when they get a project going, they're ready to go. Everyone knows what the terms are. We found really valuable exercise in doing a page turn of the contract. And it's not a page turn that the attorneys are doing, it's the principals. So everybody understands this is what this paragraph means, or why we're doing that. And something's really helping you. You're making progress when somebody pops up and says, that's not fair to the other group. The first time we did this, and the architect said, well, wait, if we do it that way, the mechanical contractor is really going to get hosed in the deal. We can't have that. And so, again, that's part of the attitude piece about thinking this through. We want to be fair, work for everybody else. When breakdowns happen, they get fixed but not blamed. Just it speaks for itself. And then the last one is probably one of the more important pieces. That it's hard. This is not the kumbaya, everybody's going to get along. We're taking all the stress and anxiety out of construction. The important thing is the difficult issues, we're talking in the same room to each other and trying to fight through them. It's one of our project managers was talking to me one day about this, and he said, people think we do this because it's easier. No, it's a lot harder, but we're sure getting a better project out of the deal. And I actually think, my view, Dave was talking about the owner having more risk. I put it a little bit differently. It's certainly a higher, that open-ended cap is scary to owners for a lot of reasons. But I'd also point out that there are a lot better mitigation tools that go with it. If you have good conditions of satisfaction, if the whole team is bought into a target number early on and say, yes, we can live with that. Yes, there's a chance you're going to go over, but it's a lot lower with all that knowledge in place. And frankly, that seems to be the key point. The horror stories I've heard is, well, at least we're in pre-con, at least we're early on. We know it's still a problem because you had a pro forma that was based on it, but that's a lot easier than a hole in the ground than discovering problems. So that's where you are. And then finally, just some things, how do you measure success on this besides waiting until the project's over and did you make money or not? I'd say first use the tools. I'm really talking about the lean tools in this case, whether you're talking commitment logs, full planning, PPC, all of those issues, all of those tools that are out there are retrospectives plus deltas. Use that to see how are you really doing, and ask that. Remember the goals of the project, focus on the conditions of satisfaction, what it is you are intending to do, and are you still testing against that? There's two different ways to talk about professional help on this, I realize, intentionally, but if there's more here than you think you know what you're in, if you think you're in too deep, there are folks who make a living truly being helpful as lean consultants, as project consultants. It may well be good to get that, at least get your sea legs under you. And then finally, chase value. Again, don't let the tools get in the way, let them serve you on that. The big piece is value. What we're looking for is, what do we do that helps everybody else? And at the end of the day, we end up with a better product and a better project. And frankly, we've saved a little bit of money that we're glad to share with everyone. So that's where I am with this.
That's great.
And
thank you. Appreciate it, Jack.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. That was the owner's perspective. Next, we're going to have the architect perspective.